All right, so changing topics to something also, well, more related to the fitness industry than this stuff. I just wanted to, I was like, should I make a video on this? I'm like, I'm not going to make a whole video on this. But Johnny Candido did, which was the 100 men versus gorilla meme. I'm sure you've seen going around.
Um, is there like an actual like video where
Oh,
a
you
hundred
haven't
men
seen
are up
this?
against a gorilla?
No, you haven't seen this? This is like everywhere. I'm shocked. Unless it's just my algorithm, but
Oh,
I feel like I've seen
maybe
this all over the
maybe
place.
I have. Wait, hundred. Okay, so if I Google or YouTube it, then is
Yeah, I mean
some short video is gonna.
it's no, it's not a video of it. It's a discussion going around everywhere about could 100 men beat a gorilla? Like who would win in that fight?
Oh, okay. So the reason I wasn't sure is because on Quora and on sites like this, like questions like this, I see them all the time. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this has been
okay.
a meme for I don't know 1 or 2 months now, maybe longer than that. I've seen it for the last couple of months, and I just want to say I am shocked at the number of people who not only think it would be close, but that a gorilla would dominate 100 men. Like people are saying, like I mean, some people are like, this is absurd. Of course, a gorilla is just going to destroy them. They couldn't do anything to a gorilla. One idiot, one moron had said imagine if you it's like a human fighting 100 chihuahuas. There's no way 100 chihuahuas could beat me in a fight. And I'm like, okay, why don't you try fighting 100 chihuahuas and see what happens, bro? You're going to die. And I think people are just completely discounting at least from what I'm seeing. I have seen more people say the gorilla. And then there's these pictures where people are showing these like 20
King
foot
Kong.
tall gorilla. Yeah, I'm like, do you guys know what a gorilla looks like? You realize an average gorilla is like 350 to 500 pounds. Like I would put my money on if you had like 10 strongmen versus a gorilla. I would put my money on the strongmen by far. Like I was literally just at the zoo 3 weeks ago and I'm looking at this gorilla and I'm like, are you guys out of your mind? Like obviously one person, yes. Five people, yes. 100? I don't think there's an animal on the planet outside of like a an elephant, maybe a rhino.
Yeah,
I mean, just because from an elephant standpoint, it's like, what
a
are you even
giraffe,
gonna do
maybe
to it? You know, like you just wouldn't be able to impact it enough. But
a
anyway,
hippo.
even then, like man, you get the eyes and everything. I think that the elephant you just wouldn't. I don't know if you stack enough people on or something, but gorilla, it's not even close. And so this is just my rant about that. That I just think that the whole thing is totally
So
absurd.
so I'm thinking about it now. So you know what the thing is that like I actually think that if this actually happened in practice, I actually would not be completely sure that the gorilla would not win. Not because it's stronger than 100 men, but first of all, like technically, like unless they have like weapons and stuff, then it's different. But or at least like some log or something that they can hit the gorilla with. But if they are just with bare hands, like there's only so many that can get around it, for one thing. But okay, still quite a few of them can. But the problem is that like they would have to be very brave, man, because like you know how it is. Like after the gorilla like snatched off the heads of the first like three, like I just kind of really see the fourth and the fifth like still like going up to it and
So this is
like
not like
okay,
one and then one and then one.
well no, I
This is
know,
100 men. I think people are totally discounting.
yeah,
Like, have you
yeah,
ever
like
seen like a mob fighter or something like that? Like, if you have one versus five, dude, if
yeah.
Francis Ngannou had, if you don't know who that was, like heavyweight champion of the world, UFC, uh,
Hmm.
any of those, five adult men versus one. I mean, like,
Yeah,
if they
that's
again, if they're coming at them at the same time, it's just the numbers are just so significant.
yeah. Do you think okay? Do you think that like let's say 100 like scuba divers with no weapon against like a killer whale or a great white shark? Do you
So
think
yeah, so
there
good
would?
question. At that point, I think you're so far out of your element, you wouldn't be able to do the damage. So it kind of comes like with the elephant thing, where it's like, how do you even do damage to something with like such thick skin and it's so high up and all that stuff? In the water, you're literally just floundering. So I would say
So,
no. I would say in
yeah, in
that
the
case,
ocean for sure. But
there's
like
just
let's say in a
no, yeah,
pool, like and I hate saying these things because I
in a
love killer whales,
pool.
but like but like in a pool, 100 men. because I guess like you could like push the killer whale down. Which again, I hate even the image
I
of
don't
that.
even
But like,
know how. We're talking about like an aquarium-sized pool or like a backyard pool.
no, so I mean, a killer whale is huge. So I mean, it would
Yeah.
have to be at least like at least it would have to fit. So the killer whale can like turn around, like make one like one full like
I, I mean
spin
that.
around its.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, if you're, I'm thinking like a backyard pool where it's literally just kind of floating around, then
Yeah, I
it's
mean, if it cannot move, then yeah, that's a big
yeah.
advantage. But
Um, but what I was also going to say though, what is funny is a lot of these same people who were, these same like where most of the internet is like, oh, like the gorilla to win. If you look at you, if you've seen the memes about Bradley Martin, how he's 260 bro.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So Bradley Martin, big influencer and whatnot,
yeah.
and Candido made the same point where they were like, people will dunk on Bradley Martin and say like, oh, he's a podcaster, he's not a fighter. And I just think to myself, okay, you're saying this gorilla, the reason this gorilla would win is, oh, it's so different. It just overpower you. Again, gorilla's like 400 pounds. A 260-pound, extremely strong, extremely athletic male is going to dominate 99.9% of men on the planet. Like, I guarantee you, Bradley Martin in a fight beats up 99.9% of people. And so, sure, against a literal professional fighter, yes, maybe like somebody who's like 150 pounds could still beat him. But this idea that people say of like, oh, it's easy to explain because one's a fighter and one's like a bodybuilder. It's like, okay, there's a reason there's weight classes, and strength and size have a tremendous, tremendous influence on who wins a fight. I mean, even within professional fighters, you will see people who they really struggle in a weight class. If you look up
Yeah, yeah.
Kevin Holland is a great example. So at 185, he was doing okay, and then he dropped down to 170, much better. There's a Joaquin Buckley is another example, 185, doing pretty well. Now he's undefeated at 170. So even then, 15 pounds can make a huge difference. So anyway, I'm just saying, like, these people who were like saying how, Bradley Martin's like a joke because he thinks he could beat up fighters. It's like, dude, you're 260 pounds lean and strong and juiced and all these things. He's going to beat the vast, vast, vast majority of people.
Although, so I mean, but a professional fight, because the thing is, like, I do think that like let's say Mayweather, who is a well, he's not that small, but I mean, he's definitely on the smaller. Like, he was on one of the lighter weight class. I think maybe welterweight was his highest.
Mm.
So I mean, I think if he hit Bradley Martin in the jaw, like I think the fight would be over. Like, even though,
Potentially, I'm not, yeah, to be clear, I'm not saying Bradley Martin could beat professional top of the world fighters. What I'm saying is a lot of people comment as if, oh, somebody who's got 2 years of fighting experience immediately beats anybody of any weight category. And,
oh
and
no,
that's just ridiculous. Like, yes, at the top level, sure. But
yeah, yeah, okay.
and again, Bradley Martin himself is extremely athletic, actually does have a few years of jujitsu and other things, like again, low level.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying there's a big difference between somebody who has zero fighting experience and even a couple of years. So that's all I'm
oh
saying.
yeah,
Is
sure.
is it's that to act like as if it's just like some fat 260-pound guy. It's a totally different world.
Yeah, by the way, just two short comments. Just because maybe someone in the comments will say it because it was a low hanging fruit. But what do you think about like a polar bear versus how many men would that take? Because I mean that one man is huge, like
Yeah.
it's much bigger than a gorilla.
Right. So yeah, so
Yeah.
okay, and again, that was one of the things with these memes. People are, I don't know, people have this like King Kong idea of a gorilla in their head. Obviously, they're huge. Obviously, they're super strong. But again, a lot of stuff in the animal kingdom will people be like, oh, who wins? Like a tiger versus a lion. If it's a 500-pound lion and a 400-pound tiger, the lion's going to win. If it's a 500-pound tiger versus a 400-pound lion, the tiger's going to win, right? Like weight itself is a huge factor in the animal kingdom, and so like within the same species if one animal is 10% larger, it's going to win almost every time. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, a polar bear. How many men to beat a polar bear in just like a neutral setting, like just like
Yeah.
grass or whatever? Um,
Not on the North Pole or
yeah,
wherever the
yeah.
region.
Um, again, I'm assuming that this is like these men are like this polar bear just killed my child, and we are putting our, self at risk purposely just to whatever we can do to kill this polar bear.
Yeah. It's up to
Uh
2,000 pounds almost.
yeah, I don't. I think that's probably pretty rare, but yeah, they could be. I don't know what the number is, but much more than the gorilla for sure. Like way more than the
Yeah.
gorilla. Yeah, probably still not
Yeah.
100.
It's so y- yeah, it's between 660 and 1,760 pounds.
Yeah, yeah, they're huge.
Yeah.
Um, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, like people on core, I remember people having these raging debates. Well, the killer whale versus great white shark is always like the PP, like it will be just pages and pages.
Yeah. Well, there's
And I
many
actually read them.
instances
That's
of orcas killing great whites.
so like there's always these pictures and videos circulating, but like none of them seem real. But a killer whale is significantly bigger than the great white shark. It's
Yeah.
kind of surprising by how much, but yeah, and then people would have these raging debates also over like what would happen against a chimpanzee, and like that's the other like people just have this chimpanzee fetish on
About
these.
like a human versus a chimpanzee.
Yeah,
Yeah, Rogan
yeah,
has a huge,
hard on for
whole.
chimpanzees as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing I didn't know, which was informative, how aggressive they are. Like they showed
Hmm.
some pictures of like what they did to some people,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's nasty. Yeah.
It is nasty. I also think people, I like one of the things with animals specifically is that unlike a human where it might just be like you kind of like level up a little bit, a lot of these animals will just go like 0 to 100, right? So like
Hmm.
there's that woman who got like brutally beaten by this chimpanzee and her whole face was destroyed and everything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And it's like this horrible thing, but it's like, okay, that same thing could also have been done by a 150-pound male, just a
yeah, yeah.
human. Right. If a
Oh
human
yeah.
just went after that woman and just didn't stop beating her, the same thing could happen, which is again all horrible. I'm just saying it's not like and yes, chimpanzees are significantly stronger and all that stuff, but I do think the animal kingdom is sometimes fetishized as if it's like, well, they could lift 20,000 pounds. And it's just like, okay, relax. Like, I don't, but
Yeah.
Candido had some funny commentary on the same thing.
All right, I'll check that out.
Yeah, yeah. So just random thing here. We were talking about mile reps. I just dropped my drop sets on leg day. But I was just kind of getting like bored of my regular routine months ago. So for the last 3 months, I've been doing drop sets for leg extensions and leg curls. And it's funny how when you start doing any new routine or anything new in your routine, it's like this excitement of like, even if it's just a little thing, like I was doing 3 straight sets and now I'm doing 4 drop sets. It's like this kind of fun new thing. And then it just slowly wears you out. So it's like initial gains, just as you get used to doing it. Because I've never done anything like this before. Because I've not really done much with drop sets. I've done tons of rest pause, but not much with drop sets. So basically, I was doing like 20 reps, drop the weight, 10, drop the weight, 10. So you're doing like 50 reps.
Yeah.
And again, at first, I was excited to do it. I was like, oh, this is much better than the straight sets. It saves me so much time. But after 3 months and like, pushing to the point that like, you feel like you're going to die, that judge was like, oh, okay. So I just for today, actually, I've never done my reps before. So I just implemented them today for the first time. I like them a lot. I'm interested to see how long it takes before I'm then feeling a similar feeling of like, all right, I just don't want to do these anymore. But for now, I really like them. I like that I get that little bit of break in between. It's unlike a drop set where it's just right after the next. I also just like that it's lower reps. So I'm not dropping the weight and doing another 10 rep set and then dropping the weight and doing another 10 rep set. So I really enjoyed it, but yeah, just kind of an update on my leg training there.
And okay, that's actually good because like I've been experimenting with things like this lately, and often I will actually get to the gym quite late, so I will only have like half an hour or so to train, and I will just try to get through as much stuff as I can. And so then a question: how long do you rest when you did drop sets? How much would you rest between
When I was
drop
doing
and the
drop
next set?
sets,
Yeah,
drop sets was just whatever time I needed to drop the weight. So it was a little bit longer for leg curls compared to leg extensions, just because I'm doing lying versions of each. So for the leg extensions, I could just quickly sit up and this is a plate loaded bench. So I would just quickly sit up and then throw the weight off and then lean back. So like genuinely
Uh,
maybe 5 or 6 seconds. Whereas with leg curl, it's lying leg curl. So I am basically having to like get up, turn around,
yeah,
get off the machine, take it off. So if you actually think about it, the amount of time is probably similar to my reps because my reps supposed to be like
yeah.
3 to 5 breaths. Maybe that's like 10 to 15 seconds. Probably was that similar amount of time, but the total number of reps is so much less because you're starting closer to failure.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So with then how far were you from failure in with drop sets?
At the end of the set,
At the beginning, so first set.
but like how at by the end of the first set, how close was I to failure?
Yeah.
Yeah, each set was basically taking a failure.
Okay. And how much did you drop the weight?
So for my, I can pull it up here. For my leg extension, it was 180 for 19, then 135. So I would just throw off the 45, and then 110. So I dropped to 25, and then 100.
Uh, okay. And so what is that like percentage wise? That's like
At the
that's
end compared to the very beginning.
yeah, that's like 20-ish percent. No, like each drop is like 20-ish
Oh,
percent.
so we can just do the math here.
So
So the
135
first
to
one is
110 is
25% drop, and then the next one is oops, the next one is a 19% drop, and then the next one is and the next one is a 9% drop. So it's actually less of a percentage drop each time.
so and you were able to basically repeat your reps doing that.
Yeah, which is actually one of the things I remember not disagreeing, but I remember talking to Eric Helms about this, and I was saying how, yeah, like it's funny because I'll drop weight and sometimes I find I can get even more reps. And he said, well, yeah, because as a percentage, like if you're just going one stat, as a percentage, it's a bigger drop. And I don't think I said this to him on the podcast, but I remember thinking, like, no, that's actually not accurate in my instance because I'm not doing that. Like, so sure, if you were to drop 10 pounds each time, then the absolute percent or sorry, the relative percentage is going to be greater each time, right? So obviously,
Yeah.
like, if you go from 110 to 100 and then you go from 100 to 90 and then 90 to 80, you're actually the percentage you're dropping is more. That's not how
Yeah.
I would do it. I would actually go, as you could see with my illustration here, I was doing smaller drops. But yes, I don't know if it's just like a muscle fiber type thing or whatever, but I would find that, and also by that point, a lot of it is like how much can you just push through that burn, which is like, because if you look at my week to week drop sets, it looks like every single week I was progressing. And again, I always talk about this. It's just like you're just getting used to a different type of thing. My first set got a little stronger, but my subsequent sets, it looks like I was getting way stronger, but I was probably just getting used to doing these 50 rep sets.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Then I might be an anomaly with this, but and definitely it's rare to see like with the people that like clients that I use the myo reps or usually myo reps was actually or some form of rest pause what we used, but like I will actually drop like around 20% weight and rest something like what I would for myo reps, and I still won't repeat my performance usually. So, but I always noticed personally that with myo reps or any kind of rest pause, like my performance goes down very fast.
Yeah, like it definitely depends on the exercise too. Like I remember trying to rest pause for like DC training barbell bench press, and it was horrible. Like I did like 12 reps to failure, and then I rested because got the whole lift off and the lockout. And my next
Mm,
set, I did maybe 3 reps, and I was like, this is just pointless. Like, what am I even doing this for? So,
yeah.
and I actually found that today with the myo reps. So my leg extensions, I did 180 again, and I did 19, and then it was like 4, 4, 4, 3 or something like that. And for leg
Mm,
curls, it was 110 and then like 1.5. Like I just, because the way mine is set up, there is a little bit more emphasis at the lengthen portion. So with the leg extensions, unfortunately, it's a little easier in the lengthen portion. So I can kind of explode up. and then I can kind of just get through that portion, which I don't think is ideal. That's just how my machine is set up.
Yeah.
Whereas with the leg curl, it is harder at the very beginning where I'm stretched. And so I basically hit failure. And I know Berge would say not to go to failure on the first. I was just trying to match previous performance. So I basically went to failure the first set. And then I did actually, I know you're not supposed to drop weight on my reps, but I did in this case just to kind of be able to do some reps.
Yeah. I'll like film myself well, like well, not today, but one of these days to see how my performance kind of trends. Because like honestly, I will use the lateral raises, yeah, shrugs sort of. With shrugs, to be honest, like I'll just kind of as I unload the bar after doing RDLs, I'll just do shrugs with after each like plate gets off. But yeah, curls, tricep extensions, lateral raises, and like man, like maybe I'm going like too like inroading too much as I'm hitting like the failure point or close to it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the issue. But I always kind of notice that I guess out quickly on these.
Yeah.
Which
I
some
know you
people
said
would say
also
that,
just from like a cardio standpoint, you don't love doing them.
and that could be it could be an issue, and it could also be that my pain tolerance is just so crappy
Yeah.
that I just wuss out. It could so like yeah, like I never had a gun held to my head. That could be an issue as well.
Yeah, I think because I just watched because I again having never done them, I just watched a few videos and I saw I guess Mike Isertel has recently popularized these MyoRep match sets that I had never heard about until like a week ago, where they do a set, I think they call it, whatever, and then they do a set and then they rest 30 to 45 seconds, and then they do another set, and then you basically do MyoReps to match the number of reps of the first set. So you might do like 18 reps, rest 45
Uh-huh.
seconds, and then you go and you get 12 and then 2, 2, 2, or something like that, right? Until you hit 18 again.
So you would just do one set because you would just match it right away. Oh no, because
Right.
they keep the weight on the
They'll
bar,
keep the
right?
weight, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and so to be clear, I do have big drop-offs for that. So my normal rest pause sets are about 40 seconds. And
Mm,
so a typical like today, I did for leg curl, like a cable leg curl, and it was 12, 5, 4. And then I did like two partials at the end. So I do get a significant drop-off for sure. Obviously, it depends on how much I'm resting and whatnot. But and then Milo Wolf had put out a video about how my reps aren't really that great, and we don't have that much evidence. And all the comments were basically saying, and I agree with them, that like, hey, nobody's saying that my reps are like this far superior thing. It's just a way to get the volume in faster. And like for me, that I love that. That's why I do rest pause. It kind of forces because I just know I just tend to take a long time if I do straight sets. And I honestly
yeah.
can't even remember the last time I didn't at least do antagonistic pairings. Like
Mm,
to just go in and do like a set of chest. Actually, I do remember. It was when I tried the bro split. Remember you and me and Brian were talking about bro split a couple years ago?
yeah, yeah.
I did that for 1 or 2 weeks and I was so over it. I was like, okay, here's the set of back. All right, I guess I'm just waiting. Here's another set of back. Like it's actually wild to me that this is how most people train. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, another set of back. I'm like, bro, like what am I doing in this time? Are you kidding me? Like, why would
yeah,
I
yeah,
do
yeah.
that? Um,
Yeah, it is.
so yeah, so I've at least always done antagonistic pairings, but the rest pause and now these Maya reps, great. If I can do 5 Maya rep sets and that counts as roughly 3 straight sets, awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I like it on movements where like they're just not super conducive for like very gradual and frequent progressive overload.
Mhm.
So like big jumps in the increments, and basically you will be just kind of not well kind of sandbagging for a long time. You just kind of like wait to progress a little bit, maybe in a few months.
Yeah,
In those, it's good because like you're
sure.
kind of going through the motions anyway.
Yeah, yeah. So I was gonna mention, like neck training, if you saw my recent stuff with how I had done the iron neck experiments and whatnot. And it actually, so you're familiar with like kind of the experiment I did there or not so much?
Remind me a little bit.
So I've been doing 1 to 3 times per week traditional neck training with a harness and whatnot for since 2017. So like literally 8 years now. And I got the initial inch, and then after that, it's basically maintained. I went from 1 to 2 to 3 times a week. I never really noticed much of anything after that initial inch. And so I bought the Iron Neck, and I thought, all right, we're going to try it, and I'm going to do it 5 times a week and 10 minutes at a time. So it's a ton of time. And in reality, I ended up doing it about 3 to 4 times a week on average. Still a ton of time because the whole time I'm doing it, I'm basically like, I'll go in one direction, basically go to failure in that direction, quarter turn, failure in that direction. And so I mean, truly, it's like a ton of work, you know.
Yeah.
And I basically saw nothing at the middle and bottom, and then maybe like a half or maybe like a eighth to a quarter of an inch up at the top, like right under the jawline. So I figured like, okay, like that's fine, and who knows. So at that point, I said, you know what? Honestly, I know some people say neck training is so quick. For me, it never was because I wanted to adequately warm up and take time and whatever. So at some point, I was like, you know, I'm spending like literally 40 minutes a week doing this, and it's just a time suck for, you know, just to maintain. So
Yeah.
I was like, let me try Iron Neck 10 minutes, 2 times a week. Basically, there's no warm up involved. You just go at it, you know, whatever. And I said, if I maintain, I'm just going to stick to that because it's just easier. And I also have a slight concern about decades of heavy weighted flexions and extensions on the cervical spine. I don't know
Mm.
if there's evidence to corroborate that, but I've had a little bit of concern. So anyway, lo and behold, been doing that for like 3 months. Basically, no change. If anything, maybe like another eighth of an inch at like the top there. But you know, for the most part, so I'm like, okay, great. I'm just going to settle into that, and that's it. But then, ironically, on two different, I think with the Jeffrey Schofield, because you know you get people who aren't subscribed who might not know about your channel. I had like two people comment about like, oh, like you know, you've got a channel about bulking up or your video about bulking up, but then you know your neck looks thin, which I don't disagree with. And my response is either like one, you should have seen it before, or two, go watch the videos on the channel because they'll kind of explain everything. But I do think, you know, obviously, like anything, there's a genetic component. Two, beyond just muscular genetics, I don't think people realize how much like skull and facial structure will impact neck size. So just
Mm.
literally like, you know, how wide one's jawline is and where the neck muscles come up can affect
Mm.
that quite a bit. And then two, leanness. So, you know, I have a video of me or a picture of me on a cruise in like, I don't know, 2019, and I'm probably 210 at the time. And, you know, with the angle and everything, it's like the classic, like full upper chest, traps looking good, thick neck kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Versus now, I'm just living at 180. And that's like one of the biggest things you'll see on people when they're doing podcasts or whatever. You know, there's that immediate, like, oh, wow, that person's leaner because their face is drawn in and their neck is
Yeah.
skinnier. And I actually find it interesting to see. I don't know if I have enough examples to bear this out, but I've seen that a number of the guys who have specifically grown their neck with direct neck training almost seem more predisposed to it shrinking upon dieting. So, for
Mm.
example, if you look at somebody like Eric Helms, pretty thick neck, not something that you would really think about, but I noticed in his competition photos where he's obviously completely shredded, he still has a pretty thick neck. And if you look at somebody like Alex Leonidas, who by his own admission has not done as much of that quote unquote yoke training, but he was known, you know, Alex Destiny for people who don't know, he was known for like the yoke training, big traps, big neck, and then he cut down to like 150. And this isn't meant to be hate or anything like that, but his neck got dramatically skinnier. I mean, just
Mm.
huge difference. Same thing with Jeff Nippard. Tons of neck training videos out there. When he got really lean, same thing, big difference there. So that's just a comment that obviously the leaner you get, the more that neck is going to shrink for most people. And I can definitely see it on myself too. That like just living at close to 10% body fat, I'm like, oh yeah, that is one of the more annoying things I would say.
Yeah, it's something that I never thought about. And then some people, actually some clients, like this was years ago, asked me what I do for my neck. I said nothing. And and then I went back. So I had a video which I did straight, like right after I did my photo shoot back in like 2019. And I always thought like that I look really strange on that video, and I never like figured out why. Because otherwise, my beard looks amazing because like a professional made it, and like plus my face is lean, which I generally like. but it just looks really weird. And I noticed that like it's because of the neck, because like it actually looks like it's his pencil is holding
Ah,
like a globe or
yeah.
so. Yeah, it's strange. Like I with Mario Tomic, he also tends
Mm,
to lose a lot of neck size when
yes.
he diets. I noticed
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I've noticed that too. Actually, now that you say that. Yeah, it's interesting that some people lose it a lot more than others. And the thing is also just again the difference between like the measurements. Like I'm always amazed that you and I have such similar measurements for our calves, for example, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, truly within like a quarter of an inch. And for one of us, it's actually, I would say, a strong point. And for one of us, it's like a clear weak point. It's pretty amazing, especially given we're basically the same height. Um, but neck,
yeah.
like at the Adam's apple, mine, I have a still 16-inch neck. It's actually like maybe 16 and a quarter. And that's like a very, I would say, normal size. If anything, it's actually slightly higher than average of like if you go get fitted for like collars or
Mine
anything.
as well, by the way. I measured it the other day, like
Really? Okay, so
41 point something centimeters.
say that again, 41.
41.5, but I think it's not point 0.5, 41 over just over 41 centimeters. So I think that is it might be just over 16 inches.
Yeah, 16 and a quarter. So exactly. So and if you look at this video, I would say you look like you have a pretty thick neck and everything, and I would say I would, at best average. So it really is kind
Yeah,
of fascinating how that much is. So it's and it just goes to,
yeah,
I'm always talking to people about when they are assessing people's evidence and whatnot online. Like obviously the appearance is very important, and you're always going to have an 18-inch neck and it's going to look skinny, right? Like obviously measurements, I've said many times, matter a lot, but it's just always fascinating to me how much that stuff plays into it, the insertions and everything play into it. My buddy who I've mentioned on the podcast, and he's tall too. 15-inch arms just look ridiculous. Like 16, when they're 16, they're huge. He's like all bicep. And so him flexing 16-inch arms at 6'3" look huge. And it really is fascinating how much you can be deceived by just an appearance.
yeah, yeah. But probably so the upside of that, I guess, is that like when they meet a guy like you, who have like you have good measurements, it's just like yeah. So like so I don't know how long your neck is, but I would assume that it's probably longer than mine. But I know that with our limbs, like my like we measured it a while ago,
Mhm.
and so I think my hip bone is like at 105 centimeters, 102, 105, something like that.
There's almost like
Yours
a
was like
3-inch difference. Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, which is that's actually crazy. And so and yeah, like you have a 6'4" wingspan. Mine
Right.
is like just under 6 foot.
Yeah, it's so
So
crazy.
yeah, these are big differences. And but when they meet a guy like that, they're probably a lot of them are like shocked, like whoa, like you look big. I mean, when you had that photo with Alberto Nunez, I mean, no hate on the guy or whatever, or like this is a praise to you, I guess. But I mean, he looked like next to you, like he never lifted or something. I mean,
Oh, well, thank you.
like a skinny kid who kind of lifts. Like that's how he looked like next to you. I mean, you just completely dwarfed him in every way, like width, height, like length, in every dimension, basically.
I'm sure it's both. I definitely don't want to give off this idea that like if somebody meets me in person, I'm like so big. It's definitely not. Again, I'm 6'1". Right now, I'm literally living at like 180 to 185. So in no way would somebody meet me and think like, wow, you're so big, but maybe bigger than like a picture or something would indicate. And of course, depends on the lighting and a million other things. But definitely the individual photos. And again, like obviously I post photos in the best possible lighting. But if you took, like, I remember when I was working out with Paul Canoe, this was like years back. So Paul Canoe, he's now an IFBB pro. And if you were to look at like the back double bicep shot of him versus me solo, his looks like 9 out of 10. This is like a true bodybuilder. And mine would be like a 3 out of 10, right? Like it's just like it just doesn't have like the any shape or anything there. But if you look at us next to each other, like in the mirror, and there are a few photos of that, now it might be like an 8 versus a 6 or something. Like the
Mm, mm,
discrepancy becomes because you see the relative sizes. versus just the shape and all that stuff like that. So anyway, like I said,
Yeah.
in no way would I want to give this idea that like, no, in person I'm so different. Like, I was Jason Blah used to do that all the time. Like, oh, when people meet me, I'm actually huge and like all this stuff. But just it's just an interesting topic, the differences there and who would then excel in bodybuilding specifically.
Yeah, I will wanna put Mike Israel on a scale somewhere and check,
Yeah.
check, check,
Is he
check what
really
this
like
is.
240?
Yeah, because it could be, but then I don't understand the measurements of some other guys or the weights and
Like him
height.
versus Joey Zatmary. It's like I've met both of them in person, and the fact that like Joey was maybe 250 when I met him, and Mike was like 240, that's very strange. Just kind
And
of
he's
almost
what, like
impossible.
6'1", 6'2", or
Joey's probably 6'2". Yeah, he's the biggest person I've met in the industry by a significant margin.
hmm
Back in like 2013, when I was at Venice Beach, there was like a literal like IFBB pro huge guy there. Probably 300 pounds. But as far as like anybody in the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 years that I've met from the industry, Joey was by far the biggest. Mike was just kind of normal looking, I would say, at the time. Now, again, this was 2019. I'm sure he's bigger now, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Last topic that I had was the sugar diet. Have you heard of this?
No, so someone sent it. I think Sotak sent me some video
Okay.
that I looked into,
How's
or
Sotak doing? I
didn't
haven't
look in.
heard from him in a long time.
Yeah, he we are discussing a lot about Tinder and those topics these days. But
Is
yeah,
he still like in the fitness industry?
he is. He's just. I think he's mainly creating content for his Romanian audience.
Okay. I don't even see. Oh,
Yeah.
there he is. Okay. So yeah, so the only reason I even brought up, I just saw a number of people actually post in my channel and say you should discuss the sugar diet, talk about the sugar diet. And I just thought it was kind of like a joke. And then I saw one or two other people talk about it. Apparently, Mark Bell is popularizing it, which I don't even know what to think with Mark Bell. Like he was
Oh my God.
super carnivore. And again, I'm speaking, just without much knowledge on the topic here or, what Mark Bell's situation is. But my understanding is he was always just like meat, 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 carnivore diet. And then,
Keto. Yeah.
yeah, and then now he's talked about dieting with like, I guess it's literally just sugar. It's like fruit juice, candy, honey. And I guess you're supposed to do it for like a week or something. I don't know much about it. I wasn't sure if you had heard about it. I just I see these things and I'm just like, man, how do these things even make the rounds outside of just like some really absurd people?
I mean, the crazy thing is, I mean, there's so many things crazy. Just wondering how Mark Bell managed to like slip that to his audience, because
Yeah.
I mean, he was on that. It's not as crazy as what was his name, Sean Baker,
Hmm.
Doctor Sean Baker. He was the carnivore, original carnivore diet guy, right? It's not as crazy as if he started doing that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, in some ways, I guess it's nothing too new because, like, for one thing, I think his shift is like a good like in a symbol. It illustrates the nature of how this tends to work. That it kind of just comes in phases and feds, and like the pendulum will swing in one direction enough, and basically at the point where it just becomes like not even controversial anymore. It just becomes like boring.
Hmm.
At that point, it's basically time to start the polar opposite. Like
Yeah. Right.
the evidence-based fitness world or fitness sphere is a bit different because people don't just say things for the sake of it, but that there is actually some evidence which slowly grows. But like I think if now like a year from now, let's say like someone tried to just be bombastic with like doing some like shortened muscle length
Yeah. Yeah.
specific training regime, then I think that could actually like it wouldn't have great longevity, but it would get some attention for sure. So I think that yeah, high carb. I mean, it wasn't really a thing in mainstream in the bodybuilding world, definitely because of like
Yeah.
Mike Israel and but yeah, like I think it's basically just coming up with something new and exciting again.
I even saw somebody making a post and it was like, oh, if only the last 5 reps are effective, why would I ever do more than 6 reps? And it was like a kind of skinny lean influencer. And then I heard a Mass article review where Eric Helms was saying how there's now people saying how only the concentric portion of the lift is worthwhile and the eccentric is a waste of time, which is like obviously goes against
Yeah,
all the research that's been done on it. And I'm just like, like that's why I'm saying like, how do I understand how certain things like, hey, length and partials, we didn't have the research. Then
yeah.
there's going to be this research on it, and people are maybe going to overemphasize it, and then it's going to pull back. That I totally understand. The stuff where it's
Yeah.
like we've either debunked this already, or there's just literally no reason to think it's the case. How some of those make the rounds, I really don't know. It's very odd.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was actually talking about this with someone. It was, it's not it's sort of another Tinder story, but like at one point I went on a date with this very lovely lady, girl, whatever, who said that she wanted to study to be in kind of like this diet and fitness world and was thinking about doing some kind of a degree or something.
Mm,
And I told her that honestly, in these sorts of fields where it's about providing information and a service to people, and you will most typically do it with while showing your face, it's much more like your actual knowledge, let alone your certifications and whatever. Because I mean that's less of a news to someone. For her it was, but for most people it's not news anymore. That nobody cares. But even
right.
your knowledge matters not nearly as much as your personality that you can present.
Sure.
Like I think Greg Knuckles said it well that like people like in these discussions people value confidence over expertise or indicators of expertise, and that's how these people like Dr. Berg or whatever
Mm.
can become such superstars because like they speak with a ton of confidence.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's like you just know that you're not getting a real discussion. Like there's this guy in the UFC world, Chael Sonnen, and he's actually probably an intelligent individual. He was a really good fighter, but his whole channel is speaking confidently on things where he's so consistently wrong. It's actually amazing. Now I think to some degree it's purposeful. Like when he will talk about his picks for like who's going to win a fight, he's wrong like 80% of the time. So I feel like he has to that has to be purposely controversial to like draw people to the channel and get people to use his sponsor of DraftKings sports betting and all that stuff. I feel like it has to be. Nobody can be that
Mm,
bad. But even just other things he says, like he'll say he's like an expert on steroids, but then say like basic things that are so wrong. And just, I mean, there's it's just constant examples. Um, and I just wonder who gets to have a real conversation with this guy. And it just must be the people who are offline because this whole online persona, I was like, there's no way, like, if I were to have a debate or something with him online, it would just all be show. It would just completely be show. And that's the same thing with political debates. It's the same thing with a lot of stuff online. And it's unfortunate that, like, I said this to somebody recently on the podcast where I was like, I just don't see it ever going away because that's just what draws in human nature. And it's unfortunate that, like, the nuanced discussions and all this stuff, obviously, we have, like, the niche, but there's so many examples where the overconfident, bombastic personality is what will kind of win out in the industry. And it's just like, it's just you got to understand it, but it's just the reality.
yeah. Yeah, I used to get angry when I was listening to these debates in like on something like an ESPN. I know it's different, but like
Yeah, yeah,
pundits are sitting in the studio and they're like talking over each other the whole time. It's not even like who interrupts who, like everybody's interrupting everybody.
yeah.
And I was like, how can you have a debate like this? And then I realized like, oh, well, they're not trying to actually like win anything here. They're like, this is all for entertainment,
Yeah, yeah, for
which is
sure.
kind of sad.
Yeah. Cool, man. So that was all the stuff we had. Definitely the least fitness specific stuff, but I think just wanted to kind of get you on, catch up on some things. Anything that
Yeah.
you wanted to tell the audience other than just go to your channel? Although this half will probably be on your channel. So,
Yeah, well, everything. All I want to say is that I'm genuinely very just happy that I finally made my video and that I have returned already, so I can just keep it going. So I am very much planning on being active from now on because I really I really missed this, and so yeah, I look forward to the wonderful future together.
Cool, man. Yeah, no, it's good. We'll keep doing the Q&As and all that stuff too. All right,
Awesome.
guys. Peace out.
Peace.